Most people don't think about fuel until the number on the pump starts looking disrespectful. That's usually when it hits. You pull up, squeeze the handle, stare at the screen, and suddenly you're doing mental math like you're back in school against your will. Okay, if I put in 20, that gets me, what, half a sneeze and a prayer? And right now, that anxiety makes sense, because gas prices are climbing again. Not because everybody suddenly decided to take a road trip at the same exact time, but because the world is doing what the world does best lately, acting unstable at the worst possible moment. As I'm recording this, the war involving the US, Israel, and Iran has oil markets on edge. The Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important shipping choke points on Earth, has been disrupted, tankers have been slowed, and oil prices have surged. US gas prices have jumped with them, while Trump has publicly said the military operation comes first, and the White House is trying to reassure people that tankers are still getting through. That doesn't automatically mean your local station is going dry tomorrow morning, but it does mean something a lot of people hate hearing. The system is more fragile than it looks, because your gas station is not a magical fountain of fuel. It's a pit stop in a giant moving machine. Oil has to be pumped, shipped, refined, moved through pipelines, loaded onto tanker trucks, and delivered constantly. And if enough pressure hits enough parts of that chain at the same time, those pumps stop looking permanent. So let's walk through it. Not movie style, not full Hollywood collapse with flaming highways and guys in leather shoulder pads yelling about gasoline like it's gold bars. Just a realistic look at what happens if fuel gets tight, deliveries slow down, and stations start running dry while the whole country is already nervous. Because that's the part people miss. Fuel problems don't just create transportation problems, they create people problems. And people, as we all know, can get weird fast. It starts the way most modern problems start, with people staring at screens, phone screens, TV screens, the giant glowing sign at the gas station that suddenly looks way too high for a regular Tuesday. Since the national average for regular gas is around $3.79 today, up sharply in just a short stretch. And Reuters has reported the war has sent pump prices higher, while crude has surged into the upper range people actually notice. At first, most people do what they always do. They complain. That's the first phase. Not panic, not action, complaining. You hear it everywhere. At the pump, at work, on Facebook, in line at the gas station mini-mart, where somebody's buying a Red Bull, 2 scratch-offs, and somehow still acting like that was the financially reckless part of the day. People say stuff like, "This is ridiculous. Every time something happens overseas, we pay for it. I should have bought a bicycle." Nobody thinks it's the beginning of anything major. Not yet. Because higher prices still feel survivable. Annoying, yes. Insulting, definitely. But survivable. Most drivers top off a little more often. Half a tank suddenly starts feeling rude. People who used to let it drop to a quarter tank stop doing that. The "I know my car" crowd starts getting humbled. You know the people. The ones who swear they can drive another 40 miles after the low fuel light comes on. That confidence fades real quick when headlines start talking about shipping disruptions and possible shortages. Because now, it's not just about the price. Now, it's about availability. And those are two very different fears. Paying more hurts. Hearing there may not be any later, that changes the vibe instantly. The next thing that happens is not a shortage. It's a reaction to the possibility of a shortage. That's an important difference. A lot of disruptions get worse because people accelerate them. You don't need every station in town to be low on fuel. You just need enough people to think they might be. That's when the rush begins. Drivers who normally buy gas on Friday start buying on Wednesday. People with half a tank decide that's no longer acceptable. Folks with 3/4 of a tank pull in just to be safe. And just like that, demand spikes. Spring travel demand was already rising according to AAA, and analysts have tied the recent run-up in prices to both seasonal demand and Middle East supply concerns. That mix matters, because when demand is climbing and fear shows up at the same time, stations get pressured fast. You start seeing lines. Nothing crazy at first, just longer than usual. More cars waiting, more people standing there, squeezing the pump handle like maybe this one can feel their personal frustration. The station owners are getting jumpy too, because they know something most customers don't. This is the part a lot of people underestimate. They think a gas shortage is just about sitting in line longer or paying more at the pump. No. Fuel problems spread fast. When fuel gets tight, behavior changes across the whole local economy. People cancel trips, restaurants lose traffic, small businesses get fewer walk-ins, contractors reschedule jobs, gig drivers get pickier, parents combine errands. Travel sports suddenly look a lot less fun when it costs a mortgage payment just to reach the parking lot. And then there's diesel. Again, diesel is the quiet heavyweight here. If diesel stays high or gets disrupted, trucking feels it. Reuters has reported that both gasoline and diesel jumped as the conflict escalated, and analysts warned more increases were possible if oil kept climbing and supply disruptions persisted. So now the stress starts bleeding into shelves, not empty shelves overnight, but late deliveries, patchy deliveries, more excuses, more substitutions, more of that phrase everybody is tired of hearing. Due to ongoing supply issues, that phrase has done more emotional damage to this country than some actual disasters. And once people start noticing that fuel problems may turn into delivery problems, the fear multiplies. Because now they're not just worried about driving, they're worried about access. That's when regular people, not hardcore preppers, not internet doom prophets, just regular folks, start changing how they shop, how they move, how they plan their week. And that's when you know the event has crossed a line. When people stop assuming tomorrow will feel normal. At some point, officials start talking more. You get press conferences, statements, assurances. The White House has already been signaling that tankers are still getting through Hormuz, even if only slowly, while also saying the conflict should not drag on forever. At the same time, Reuters reported the administration has been looking at tools like reserve releases and market interventions to contain the shock. This is where public trust matters, because if people believe the disruption is temporary, behavior may calm down. If they don't believe it, good luck. That's the issue with fuel scares. Once people think they might lose access, they act first and ask questions later. And some of those actions are dumb, real dumb. You hear stories about hoarding, unsafe storage, people topping off cars they barely use, folks driving across county lines to save 6 cents while burning 2 gallons to do it. There is nothing more American than spending $12 in gas to avoid being overcharged by 4. But jokes aside, officials trying to calm things down only works if the system actually starts looking steadier. So what happens when gas stations run out of fuel? At first, not much, just grumbling. Then price shock. Then nervous topping off. Then rumors. Then lines. Then patchy shortages. Then all the little problems that ride on the back of fuel start showing up too. That's how it goes. Not all at once. One uncomfortable step at a time. And the people who handle it best usually aren't the strongest, loudest, or most dramatic. They're the ones who saw the pressure building before the pumps went quiet. The ones who understood that when the world gets shaky, boring preparation beats panic every time. And maybe that's the biggest lesson in all of this. You don't prepare because you're certain disaster is coming tomorrow. You prepare because modern life has a lot of moving parts. And sometimes, one bad headline on the other side of the world shows up in your town wearing a new gas price. And when it does, you really don't want your whole plan to be, well, hopefully the next station has some.